Perfect. So once again, hello everyone. My name is Devin Jones, one of the admissions counselors at Pacific University. Welcome to today's Lunch with a Boxer. Today we are going to be covering a lot about housing and res life within Pacific. But before we kind of dive into that, we have Griffin Shawless from our financial aid department to kind of give you a little update on financial aid. So Griffin, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Devin, and hello, everyone. So again, my name is Griffin Shawless, one of our undergraduate financial aid counselors here at Pacific, and hopping on to give you kind of a quick update on where we're at before you get into the fun stuff with housing. The faster roller coaster that is 2024, we at this point have sent out a good chunk of awards to our incoming students. So folks who have gotten something, as those questions come up, once you start getting those packages actually physically in the mail, as you get those email notices from our office, make sure you stay in touch with both myself and Stacey England in our office, who is our other fantastic financial aid counselor. And then folks who haven't gotten anything yet, we're wrapping up on those last couple of awards. So I'd say expect to hear from our office at some point late this week or within the next week or so as well, early next week too. I'm going to attach in the chat the financial aid counselor's contact information here at Pacific. So that is, like I mentioned, both myself and Stacey England in our office. And what we do is we just split the alphabet right down the middle. So I'm the specific counselors for students with last names A through L, and then Stacey works with our students with last names M through Z. So, financial aid is a lot on a normal year's cycle, and things are a little different this year. So please, as questions come up, as you have concerns, or if you're feeling just overwhelmed with FAFSA things in general, please stay in touch with myself, stay in touch with Stacey. We want to make sure we get you connected to the right folks. And if you don't know who to ask for something, you have an amazingly competent group of admissions folks here at Pacific University. So ask your admissions counselor. They'll know exactly who you need to chat with for anything Pacific related at all, be it financial aid or something that falls outside of our purview as well. So I want to be brief so that you all can hear from our amazing housing folks about all things on their end. Lindsay and Andrew, good to see you. Thanks for being here, and I'm going to hop off and let you all enjoy the rest of your lunch. So
Perfect. Thank you so much, Griffin. Enjoy your lunch as well. So now we are going to go ahead and get into a little bit of the housing and res life. Today we have two fantastic staff members within that department, Andra and Lindsay. And I would not be doing them justice if I tried to describe their accolades and roles. So I'm actually going to let you two go ahead and introduce yourselves to everyone.
Thanks so much, Devin. Appreciate you. I'm Andra Dennis. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of Campus Living here at Pacific. And I will let Lindsay introduce herself while I am sharing my screen.
Awesome. Thanks, Andra. My name is Lindsay Blem. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Dean of Student Development and Campus Living here at Pacific. And I'm also an alum of Pacific University. So we're really excited to talk to you about campus living today.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay. Okay, so the big question that everyone has on their mind is, where can I live at Pacific? And we're really excited for you to live with us. So we want to make sure that we get all the options out there for you so that you know what to expect. The first area that students tend to live their first year is McCormick Hall. So McCormick is a historic hall on campus. It's a big part of Pacific's history. Students love living there because of its big lounges. So lots of great spaces for students to hang out together, to play games, to study, and really just to get to know each other. It is 4 floors with mostly double rooms, which is pretty consistent that you'll see through our 3 first-year areas. Okay, the second one that we're going to talk about is Cascade Hall. Cascade has lounges on every floor, so it is split up a little bit differently. There are lots of study nooks, lots of places for you to play games with your friends, and good places to hang out. It's also mostly double rooms. And then we'll move over to Walter Hall. So Walter Hall is our primarily first-year student area. There are big rooms. It has the best storage on campus. So that's a highlight of every room. There are lots of good hangout and study spaces. And again, it's mostly double rooms. So as you can see, you can expect to live with somebody your first year. And we'll just kind of get into some details about all of the residence halls. They're all close to your classes. Laundry is free in all of them. And then the doubles are all the same price between Cascade, Mac, and Walter, so that you don't have to worry about price as you are preferencing one of those buildings. If you're a transfer student, we work really hard on peer placement. So we'll be working to place you with your peers, depending on where you are in your journey, and going through that as a more individualized process. So mostly we just want to say that our spaces are set for you, and we're excited for you to be moving into them. We're going to talk a little bit about the requirement for living on campus at Pacific. It is that students are required to have a full meal plan and live on campus for 4 full semesters. Full semesters include fall and spring. They don't include winter and May. So that's just good for you to know as you're planning. You can kind of consider your first 2 years as planning to live on campus, unless you qualify for an exemption. So exemptions can be for marriage, for having a child dependent, living with immediate family within 20 miles. If you think that maybe you apply for an exemption and would prefer to stay at home, please go ahead and go to our website and check out all of our residency requirements so that you can see if that would apply for you. It is definitely an option, and we want to say that even if you're living around here, you're more than welcome to stay with us. So I will pass over to Lindsay now to talk about applying.
Awesome. So let's get to the juice of it, which is actually filling out your housing application and contract. Okay, so as you deposit at Pacific University, we'll be contacting students to let them know it's time to apply for housing. So we'll give kind of the rundown of the deadlines, send an email to the students, especially at their new Pacific University email. So it's important to start checking that email address. Once you get that email, you'll have instructions to make sure you have your student login set up. And so we call that our Boxer ID and your password. That's how you get into your student email. So usually once you deposit, that's kind of your first step for getting set up. Then you can use those to log into our housing portal, which is called eRezlife. That link is on most of our housing web pages. So if you just get to one of our web pages, you'll find the link for it. It will also be in that email that we'll send out. What you're going to do then is fill out your housing application and your contract at the same time. We really need those to be in by June 14th so we can move on to the next steps. So if you're deposited now, go ahead and get started. It's also an optional step to find your own roommate. So again, like Andra said, most first-year students will be assigned a roommate, but you have a choice to participate in that yourself and kind of take the lead in finding a person who might be a really good match for you. What you're going to do is you can make your own profile, and then you can search for students who have common interests or needs or like the room to be a certain way. It's a really great way to start making connections at the university before you even get here. Some students with disabilities need specific housing requirements for their housing accommodations. And so if this might be you or your student, please go ahead and get connected with our Office of Accessibility and Accommodations as soon as possible. The earlier you get it done, the earlier we'll be able to get you in an assignment that meets your needs. The easiest way to do this is just visit their website, which is pacificu.edu/OAA. Also, if you search for disability or accommodations, you should be able to find it on our website as well. And that's a pretty quick or simple process where you would have your student fill out an intake form about what their needs are, submit documentation that supports it, and then OAA works with us to find really good fits for accommodations. It's the same process that your student will go through if they need classroom-related accommodations as well. So summer is a really good time to get that going, so we're not having to try to make things work in fall. Okay, so once you've filled out your housing application and your contract, you may match with a roommate or you may not. What we are going to do is we will match everyone. Our computer system uses people's preferences and finds good fits for everybody. So you'll get matched. And then we really work with our system also to balance all of the factors. So you're going to put your preferences in about what kinds of buildings you want to live in, what kind of roommates you want, what kind of features you want to have in your housing. And based on availability, accommodation needs, your preferences, and your roommate's preferences, then our system will generate your housing assignment. You're going to get your assignment information in July. And so that's when you're going to know, okay, which building is mine? What's my room number? And you can really start to get ready to move in. Meal plans. So all students who are required to live on campus, the requirement that Andrea mentioned earlier, are also required to have a meal plan. So what's nice about this is you actually don't have to make any choices. You don't have to do anything extra. By filling out your housing application, after you get your housing assignment, we're going to assign you to our best meal plan, which is Boxer 21. Boxer 21 is a special meal plan that gives you access to eat at all of the meals when our cafe is open. So that includes breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the weekdays, as well as continental breakfast, brunch, and dinner on the weekends. So with this meal plan, your students will not have a chance to not have access to meals. They're going to get access to all of them. And if they're finding that that is not their preferred meal plan type, we have two other full meal plans that count towards the requirement. So one is called Boxer 17 and one is called Boxer 14. And with each of those, it's a smaller number of the meals. So they would have 17 or 14 meals to use at those meal times throughout the week, as well as a little bit of declining balance. And that is money that they can use in our coffee shop or a convenience store type location to buy snacks or coffee. It doesn't roll over from semester to semester, so they have to use it. But that's a good option for a student who maybe won't ever be going to all the meals each week. All full meal plans are the same price. And I will say, even if your student's on Boxer 21, there's always the chance for them to purchase additional Boxer bucks to add on to a plan to, again, give them just kind of like that balance that can be on their student ID so they can have quick access to a coffee or a snack if they're on the go. Okay, next we're going to really think ahead towards moving in August. Our main move-in date is August 22nd, so it's Thursday. That is also the day our new student orientation kicks off. So it's a big day where you'll move in the morning, get your orientation information, and then really dive into starting to go to some informational sessions and some social events that day. For certain fall athletes, such as football, soccer, volleyball, and more, they will have pre-scheduled earlier move-in dates to allow for their practice schedule in August. So we'll be in touch with you if you're on one of those teams to let you know your move-in arrangements. And we have some special events for those move-in days as well. So even if you're not able to come back for the orientation on the 22nd, you will be able to get all the information you need and see our campus and have a great time. As we look ahead, we of course want to highlight some of the things to make sure to bring and things to leave behind. We have a list of this on our webpage. So if you go to our frequently asked questions, it's there. But main things to think about leaving behind are candles, space heaters, microwaves, things like that. And making sure to bring those basics. There's lots of good lists out there of things to make sure to bring. So you can always just Google. But I think having that checklist now as people are asking what they can do, maybe to gift somebody or you're trying to collect things around the house, having that list now can help your student feel really prepared when it becomes time to move in August. Our move-in day is really exciting. So for students moving in on the 22nd, we have a lot of help around campus. Our football team actually forgoes practice that morning and helps students carry boxes up the stairs and get everything into their room. So it's one of our favorite days here, and we love sharing pictures from it because it's just such an exciting time. Next up, Andrew's going to be talking about what it's like to live in the halls.
Great. Well, we want to make sure that you know that once you're here, you are going to have plenty of support. So let's talk a little bit about the structures that provide that support. So the first thing is that we're on your team. So we have professional staff that live in the halls. We have a resident director in Walter Hall and then area coordinators that are over Mac and Cascade. So we have plenty of professional staff living on campus. And then we have student live-in staff that are resident assistants. So there's an RA on every floor, and we make sure that they're available to your student and connecting with students on a regular basis. And then we also always have our campus public safety team. They're available 24/7. So we want to make sure you know that we've got you covered. And then also another supportive measure is building connections. So building connections right upon arriving for fall is just really important to setting the tone for the year and getting you set up for success. So we do hall hangouts the very first night. So those are in each residence hall, and they are a time just to get to know the people that you're going to be living with for the year. So they're usually really fun. Sometimes we do trivia, sometimes we do games, but the whole idea is for you to be able to connect with a few people that you're going to be living there. We will also be doing roommate success plans in those first couple of weeks. Those plans allow you and your roommate to sit down and really talk about what it means to live in a space together, some of the norms that you want to have in the room, and what you're going to agree to with each other. We'll have plenty of hall events and activities in addition to all kinds of other ways to get involved on campus. So we are here to help with all of that. And we want to make sure that you know how to reach out to us. So please feel free to send us an email at rezlife@pacificu.edu anytime between now or August, or even when you're on campus. We want to help you out. We want you to have a great experience living here. And sometimes it just takes you asking some questions so that we know what you need. Okay, I think that is everything for Lindsay and I. Do we want to open it up for questions?
Yeah, I see one question is when students find out they're assigned building for the fall. So that will happen in July. It depends a little bit because we run lots of different reports to like match all the roommates together and then give them housing assignments. But we'll let them know as soon as we have that settled in July, hopefully on the earlier side of July. Okay, so I see another question. It says we just accepted the financial aid award letter, but the only link we saw was for housing was to choose a house, not more. Andra, I know you've been working with financial aid on some of this.
I'm uncertain about the link that was received. So I think what I'm going to do is I will drop the eRezlife link in our chat. And then the application for housing is at this link. And students just need their Boxer ID to log in.
And I will say, oh, sorry, Devin.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to give a little tip. I know it can be really tempting sometimes for family members to fill out the application for the student. And we find that it can be really helpful if you help them sit down to do it and then they fill it out themselves. There's a lot of questions around kind of like preferences of when they're getting up and if they want guests over and things like that. So it's a good thing for them to start thinking about. I know it's a big transition. So it might be good to kind of get those conversations going before they sit down and fill it out too.
Great. I saw the next question is, are there social events for transfer students? So I'll start this and then Lindsay can follow up. So right away in orientation, we have several sessions that are available that are specified for transfer students to allow you to connect with your peers right as soon as you arrive on campus. Lindsay, do you want to describe some of those?
Yeah. So some of our orientation leaders are transfer students themselves. And so they're going to be assigned, or if you're a transfer student, you're going to be assigned to a group and a group leader who has a similar experience, and you're going to be with peers who are also going through that transition. On the first day of orientation, we're going to have an open house with our transfer student services. So you'll get to meet the director and some of the other students who are involved, get to see their hangout spaces and all of that. And then there's going to be some really specific transfer education that's happening the next day as we move into more of an academic focus, thinking about how to plan your class schedules for future terms and what the support services are here.
And so one question I was going to say is, when you come on tour at Pacific, we show you one of the dorms, and you have some things that are already on the walls, but they're mounted, so to speak, like kind of the corkscrew boards. How would students go about hanging stuff on walls, and what are the rules behind that?
Great. So our best recommendation for all of our halls is planning to use blue tape. Blue tape really causes the least damage possible. Some of our buildings are okay with command strips. Mac and Walter do okay, but what we really recommend is sticking with blue tape for hanging. It provides the best chance that there won't be any damage to the wall that needs to be repaired later.
I see another question about, can families ship items prior to move-in day, especially if they live far away? Andra, would you mind taking that one?
Absolutely. So families can definitely ship things to their student. So what you will want to do is include your student's name, and you can write new student next to it, and then the Pacific University address. The mailroom then collects those packages for your student. Your student will have a mailbox, but you won't know the number quite yet. So that's why we just write new student. And then when your student arrives on campus, you'll be able to go to the mailroom during that move-in day. They'll be open, and you can retrieve those packages very easily.
And then for laundry situations, is it the same within every residence hall or residence building?
It is the same. It's all included, so you don't have to bring quarters or worry about any of that. We do recommend figuring out your preferred detergent. Most students like to bring pods and dryer sheets just to keep it really simple, but there is at least one laundry room in every building, and there are 2 in Cascade to make it even easier.
Then a question here I have is in regards to the weather. So students will be moving in the last weekend of August, and then they will be here during spring semester, kind of during the mid portion of May, right when Oregon seems to kind of heat up. What are the recommendations or kind of the rules behind fans? Do halls have AC units, or do you recommend just students bringing kind of traditional desk fans or kind of mounted fans?
Yeah, we do recommend that students bring fans, even for the air-conditioned buildings, because it just helps people to stay comfortable. Some of our buildings are air-conditioned. That includes Cascade, and then a couple of our apartment areas. But every building has a cooling area in it that's air-conditioned. So we have selected some lounges in Mac and Walter to be available as cooling spaces, especially if it gets warm. I will say it's warming up, and it hasn't been too warm this spring. So the times when it's really air conditioning needed are mostly over the summer. So it's usually pretty manageable, but we're always here to help if a student is feeling like they're just too warm.
I will say move-in time is the warmest time of the year traditionally. So if that is happening this year again, don't let that be the first impression of it's going to last like this forever. It just is kind of the peak of the heat, and then it usually cools down. But having a good fan can really help keep that comfortable during those first few days.
I see that next question about fridges. It is 1 fridge per student. So each room, if you're in a double room, might have 2 fridges in it, depending on how the students decide to manage that. A lot of times students end up deciding that a mini fridge with a full meal plan is too big for just them. And so a lot of times students will also share their mini fridges.
Each hall also has a kitchen that community members can use. So even with the meal plan, you might be tempted to like bake a cake one night or make a meal from home. And the kitchen is exactly for that. So students will be able to use pots and pans that might be around. If they have something that, or they know they're going to be baking regularly, it might be good for them to bring that special pan or saucepan too. I have another question of just what do rooms come furnished with? And so that is on our webpage, but typically, or not typically, always, rooms each have for each person, a bed, a dresser unit, some kind of closet or wardrobe where you can hang clothes up, as well as rooms typically have either one central light or lights on each side of the room. What am I missing, Andra?
Did you say a desk?
A desk and a desk chair. Thank you. Because studying is important. Yes. The beds also tend to be extra long. So if you're looking at sheets, getting extra long sheets are really helpful.
Yes, I see the question too about whether or not the rooms are all generally similar with closet space. I would say within the buildings, they tend to be similar. Mac is a little bit different, McCormick, because it is historical. We have rooms of different shapes and sizes in that building, more so than the others. But we worked really hard to right size the room to make sure that there is room for 2 people to live there. And so we've done that in all of the halls to make sure that they're all set.
I will say we saw that picture of Walter. It has like lots of built-in closet space. It probably has the most hanging space, but Mac might beat it on drawer space, and then Cascade is kind of like the most flexible spaced room. So they each have their little perks.
All righty. Oh, so actually, a little bit or a question about RAs. What is the process of becoming one?
Yeah, that's a great question to be asking now. So, approximately mid-year, we open the RA application for the following academic year. So, students on their way into Pacific will be eligible to participate in that next round. So, that next round will begin. Usually, we open the applications either in late December or early January to get going for the next year. So, we would love to have you start connecting with your RA as soon as you arrive. And let us know that you're interested and maybe volunteer for some event opportunities along the way.
Perfect. All righty. Well, that seems to have wrapped up lunch with a boxer. If we don't have any more questions, I want to thank everyone for being able to join in on their lunch. We really appreciate you guys coming in and kind of chatting with us, so to speak. We will hang out for a little longer if you have any more questions, but at this time you are more than welcome to go, and we're gonna go ahead and stop the recording. So thank you all for coming and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks.